Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our very first committee of the whole meeting for 2022. I'm just going to wait to make sure that everyone is here. All right, so I'm Martina Chait-Hartwig. I am the acting clerk here at the township. I'm going to call the roll and get this meeting started. Mayor Jones has sent his regrets. Deputy Mayor Moher.
Here.
Councillor Sheila Landsman.
I'm here.
Councillor Heather Watson.
Hello.
Councillor Tom Watt.
Present.
CAO Alana Arthurs. Paul Creamer. Interim Treasurer. Jake Condon, Manager of Public Works. Ryan Fawcett, Chief Building Official. Mike Mood, Assistant to the Manager of Recreation Facilities. And Chuck Paterson, Fire Chief.
Here.
Excellent. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. So I'll call the meeting to order at 10:03. Our first order of business today is to elect a chair and a vice chair of this committee. Do I have any nominations for the position of chair? Councillor Landsman?
Sorry. Yes, I would make a motion to appoint Councillor Watson to be chair.
Do I have a seconder for that motion?
Just a clarification through you. Was it Councillor Watt or Councillor Watson? I didn't hear you correctly. What? Okay, I will second that.
No. So hold on. Sorry, I did
Councillor
say
Landsman?
Watson.
Watson. So you're
Oh.
nominating Heather.
Ms. Watson.
Okay. And do I have a seconder for that motion?
Sure, awesome. Could I ask a question though first, please?
Absolutely, Councillor Watt.
Mayor Jones not here. Is Mayor Jones going to attend other ones? Or is it just this one, or is he going to sit on the sideline like the committee of our HR committee as an outside source for us to obtain information?
I'm not sure what his plans are. I just know that he's not here with us today.
Okay, all right, thank you.
But are you still seconding the motion?
Yes, I will, sure.
Very good. And Councillor Watson, would you accept the nomination?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Excellent. Congratulations on being appointed chair. And can we have a motion to elect a vice chair, please? Deputy Mayor Moher?
I would nominate Sheila Landsman.
And do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Watson, you second the motion? Councillor Landsman, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Excellent. All those in favor? Excellent. Congratulations, Councillor Landsman. You're now the vice chair of the committee. Go ahead, Councillor Landsman.
Did we vote on the first one?
Oh, I didn't call for a vote, but I saw
On,
everyone's hands in favor, so. Or I can go back and recall the vote if you wish.
No, that's fine.
Okay. So Madam Chair, our next order of business is the land acknowledgement. Did you wish for me to read that out for you?
I would, yes, please. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome. So we respectfully acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. And I'll now turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. And thank you to council for nominating me as chair, and welcome to our inaugural committee of the whole meeting. So running down the agenda, do we have any disclosure of pecuniary interest?
No.
Being none, can we have a motion for the adoption of the agenda, please? Tom? Sheila? All in favor? That motion is carried. Moving on, we have no delegations, petitions, or presentations. The agenda today is pretty light with a series of staff reports to review. So, Madam Clerk, help me out here for a moment, if you will, please, in terms of processing these through. Do we want to have one motion for all, or would it make most sense to ask councillors to go through them? We can go through them one at a time, just in the essence of time.
Madam Chair, we can do it either way. I know a few staff did have comments they wanted to make on their reports, so we would like to give them that opportunity, but we can look at each one individually or pass a motion to receive them all and then do questions. But maybe for this first meeting, we run through them each individually, just so we can capture those comments, and then we can work together to see how you want to do it for the next meeting.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you. And I see Councillor Watt, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you very much to you, Madam Chair. That was going to be my suggestion that, if you don't mind, that we do have all the reports. I know we've read them all, but I was going to say maybe if we give each of the department heads a chance to any additions or updates or changes and stuff like that before council gets a chance to ask about them. But if we do one at a time, that's great, because that's the opportunity for that to happen. But thank you very much.
Great, thank you. And Deputy Mayor Moher, did I see your hand up as well?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Chair. I agree with one at a time. I may have a resolution or two associated with individual reports. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So that is what we will do. So starting with item number 7.1, the CAO report. Alana, I'll hand it over to you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Manson, did you?
No, I just didn't know if you wanted a motion to receive it before it was discussed.
I see. I think it makes sense for us to go through the report, and then we can ask questions and receive it or any action from there.
Yep.
Thanks. Alana?
Thank you very much. Just going through the report again, I think as we were kind of discussing what this format would be like, we can kind of tweak it as we go to see what the committee would like to do. And obviously there will be some reports that have more pertinent information and that you may want to explore. As for mine, essentially we're still trying to deal with the COVID pandemic. Our doors are locked, although our staff our complement is increasing. We're still not full complement, still being cautious of the fact that the virus is very much out there. But we definitely are here and receiving people at the door and doing all the customer service and things that needs to be done. And as far as appointments, if anybody does need to meet with us, we've been doing it virtually via Zoom. So we're hopeful in the next couple of weeks, though, as things seem to be lifting, that we can come back to some kind of normal. Aside from that, just going through some high-level things, we're dealing with some short-term rentals, dealing with other CAOs in the county with regards to waste, some doctor recruitment discussions. We've been dealing with some the animal services. So if there's any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them. A lot of the stuff in my report also kind of bleeds into the HR committee, so I'll try to avoid having those discussions here.
Great, thank you for that. Any questions of our CAO on her report? Deputy Mayor Mulher?
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I've got a couple questions. I noticed you've met with Greenview and staff to discuss the combined public works building and fire. Any study going on the works portion of the building to be sheltered under a lean-to or a carport type with 2 or 3 maintenance bays in the enclosed garage or building? City of Peterborough under Brian Jobbett, who is the Director of Public Works there, who's a Douro-Dummer resident and former fire department person, is very pro this lean-to concept. I know the argument came back a while back that that you can't do it in Douro-Dummer because the city vehicles are 24/7. Well, that isn't necessarily the case with all their vehicles. And they've worked around it very adequately and saved a whole bunch of money, capital money. And some of us had the privilege of touring the Peterborough Works Garage a couple of years ago. And I'm just wondering why there's reluctance to look at that or study that, or hopefully that's not the case. And private sector, looking at Drain Brothers and many others with similar type vehicles are not housed inside. They're outside, either a lean-to or out in the open. A lean-to with timed plug-in heaters and even electric automatic starts can be arranged these days. Technology is wonderful these days. And even the gelling of diesel fuel, there's ways around that as well. So I just wondering why I would like to know more about that, and maybe have Greenview come to a meeting, either committee of a whole or to a council meeting to discuss in more detail, or maybe a special meeting, because this is pretty important to us going forward. And that's one way of reducing the overall capital costs. So that's my comments. I don't need an answer now, but I would appreciate something back fairly soon on this to assure that we are looking at the big picture. And I have a second comment as well.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
The second one has to do with customer timeline. We talked about this at a recent resolution that we were going to develop a policy. I'm just wondering if we might have that policy well before the startup or the building season really gets going, because as recently as this weekend, I've had another complaint of no acknowledgement from the building department on an application. These people are not pushy people. They just wonder, why are we kept in the dark of no acknowledgement either by phone or email of an application? And it's the sooner we get some kind of a policy, I think the better, because I'm not too interested in answering those calls this summer. There were my
Elena,
two
do you
comments.
have any comment on that specifically?
Sure, I can through the chair to Deputy Mayor Moore. Just going back initially on the discussions about the building, we have had some internal discussions, keeping in mind that the original design of this building was completed by employees that are no longer with us. So those of us that are here now and dealing with this moving forward are trying to become familiar with it and have discussions about what makes the most sense. We have had a conversation with Greenview just about how to move forward. So we're trying to do the internal process first to make sure that everybody on this end is satisfied with what we have moving forward, and then we will engage Greenview to give us some direction. There's other variations of that building that may have changed since the original design. And once we get to that point, definitely we'll have Greenview come back and we will look at the option as far as the bays, whether it's internal or external, and try to provide some costing so that we are moving forward with the most cost-effective way for the township, for sure. With regards to the customer service policy, we do have one in our draft HR policies that was specific for staff. And I know Brian was going to bring something forward for the building department specifically. I'm not sure if we have that listed in our capital report and capital project status, or what the timeline is. Maybe Brian, if he has an idea of the timeline, he can provide that. But I would agree, before the building season ramps up, it would be beneficial to have that in place.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Councillor Lansman, did I see your hand up earlier with questions? Perhaps I didn't.
Thank you. Through you to Alana, just looking at the discussions about the animal service and Peterborough Humane Society, is that like an ongoing discussion? Is it going well?
Through the chair to Councillor Lansman, we've had one very preliminary discussion with the Peterborough Humane Society. We have talked about it with other municipalities. It does appear that other municipalities have other options that they're exploring as well. So I don't know if we would come to a consensus jointly to do anything either with Peterborough Health or Peterborough Humane Society or outside of that. So we have had an initial discussion, and we're just taking a look at the existing contract to see how that fits in to ensure that it's not going to be too cost prohibitive for the township.
Okay, thank you.
And just a follow-up on that point, I'm assuming we can expect a report to come back to council in the near future. We're not at risk of not having those services at this point in time. Is that correct?
That is correct. The original letter that we had received was rescinded, so we don't have a strict timeline, but we have already been in discussion, so I would expect we'll have something relatively shortly.
Great, thank you. Councillor Watt?
Through you, Madam Chair, just quickly, and I'm not quite sure what department this is. I just got my tax bill in the mail with my new dump card and my update for my dog tags, which is tags now. It was only one. How the newest member of the household. How do I go about getting a new tag for her, like a physical tag? I know I can send the payment in with a check and stuff like that for both dogs, but how do people go about getting an actual tag for a new dog or the one that they've never had before?
Through the chair to Councillor Watt, that is a good question. I would think you should be able to come here, but maybe I would just confirm with Martina or Brian that they are available here.
To jump in through your worship, or Madam Chair, to Councillor Watt's question. On our website, we do have 2 pages, one for animal control and also one for dog licenses that has sort of the steps to undertake. And has the current fees outlined in that. To get a physical tag, we can either mail it, they're very thin so they can fit in an envelope, we can mail them, or arrangements can be made to pick one up here physically. And then payment options, they can either be paid here, and then or alternative options of payment if needed. So you just contact general administration and they'll be able to help you out.
Great, thanks for that, and thanks for that reminder, Councillor Watt, as I'm sure many of us are in the need of tags these days. Any other questions on the CAO's report? Seeing nothing further, I just would like to add, CAO Arthur, thank you for your attendance at the library board meeting last month, I guess it was now. It certainly was well received by the library board, and your leadership and guidance through those matters was helpful. So on behalf of myself as well as the board, thank you for your time in that. Can I get a motion to approve or receive rather the report 7.1, CAO 2022-03? Deputy Mayor Moher, Councillor Lansman, second, yeah. All in favor? Great. I feel like I'm frozen. I am back. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Great internet. Moving on to item 7.2, the Clerk Planning Department monthly report. Madam Clerk, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. So the big news in our department is that Nicole left us at the end of 2021 to return to school. But we now have a new back in her position, so we're very glad to have her join us again. So we're just kind of going through that little transition period, getting her back up to speed and getting all of our files together. Both the clerk's department and the planning department are quite busy. We're not seeing the same volume of applications in the planning department as before, but all of the applications we are getting are quite complex. So the complexity raises the amount of work that each one takes to process. On the other fronts, just going through, I don't want to rehash anything, take time away from anyone else. We do have a few peer review files that are happening right now. So that's the Clancy subdivision in the Donwood area, the Ontario Turtle Trauma Center, a new site plan for Paterson Carrington, which is up on Center Line. And just make sure that our chair is still with us here. One moment.
Yes, thank you. I am still here in hearing. I could hear you, but my video cut out. I'm here. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. And so the site plan that I was just mentioning, Paterson Carrington, is at the intersection of River Road, County Road 32, and Center Road in the Douro area. The site plan approval process for Wildfire Golf Course is now registered. So now the applicant is working through the building permit process. Other than that, we're getting ready for the election. We're working as a group here in Peterborough County, and we have just secured Fred Dean to host our candidate training in April. So I will shortly have information posted on our website about that, but we're quite excited. We're hoping it's going to be an in-person event, though we are planning for a hybrid event if restrictions don't allow us to meet in person. And that will be at Market Hall in Peterborough, which is an accessible venue. And of course, training will be free. So we're very excited about that and looking forward to the whole election season. Just on the election front as well, we recently released our candidates page on the website. So please feel free to take a look at that. And we're going to be updating information as it comes available. I'm happy to answer any questions or comments that the committee may have of me. Madam Chair, are you on the line? So I can't see you, but I'm hoping we can hear you. You may be muted.
Madam Chair, I have a couple comments, a couple questions.
Just going to ask that we pause for a second while Madam Chair comes back to us. One moment.
Fingers crossed that my internet is holding strong still.
Was there any part of that
Yes,
report you wanted me to redo? I'm not sure if you heard everything.
No, I did hear everything.
Okay, excellent.
My audio is connected by phone, so that's no problem. It's just my internet feed from the video is cutting in and out. And I'm probably frozen on screen currently, I suspect. So I don't know if perhaps, given my technical difficulties, if our vice chair wants to resume as I'm trying to sort this out. Councillor Landsman, like I say, I'm still here and can participate by audio, just not consistently by video at this moment. Councillor Landsman, are you okay picking up the chair seat for a moment?
Certainly, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's okay with everyone. All right, Martina had finished what she was saying, and I do believe Deputy Mayor Moher had a question or a comment.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. A couple of comments. I heard from a fairly reliable source on the weekend that there could be some provincial new rules coming down on the election. So it might be, and whether you've heard of anything, Martina, or not, but quite often in March of an election year, there's things come down from the province that are to be implemented in an election coming up. The second point I want to make, or question, I just wonder if there's any progress on the Halls Glen subdivision, and I've got a third question.
Madam Chair, would you like me to answer the Halls Glen question?
If you would, please.
Absolutely. So through you, Madam Chair, to Deputy Mayor, I know that Mr. Northey is working with the county right now through the draft conditions process. I haven't heard an update recently, but I know in the fall he had been meeting with Mr. Mudd at the county to have those discussions. So.
Okay, so there's some progress. And the second question I want to ask, you've been very helpful on working on the TAC team, the county with 8 townships for the last 2 to 3 years. A lot of work, I think up into the almost 40 meetings. I'm curious about whether the Cavan Monaghan and the Autonomy South Monaghan TAC reps have been part of that process during the last 2 to 3 years.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Deputy Mayor Moher. Yes, staff from both those townships have been very active in this process, and they've also sat on subcommittees with me, such as the public consultation and the healthy community section we did, which was about green space allocations.
Okay, thank you. That might be helpful in some of the future discussions at County Council. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe Councillor Watt has a question.
Through you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, thank you very much. No, just a quick comment, Martina. Thank you very much. I know this has come up numerous times about the all the red tape on applications, stuff like that. And I'm glad it's not at the bottom of the list, you know, that it is being looked into, and any of that we can cut out on behalf of our ratepayers. You know, and I know it's a tough job these days, everything, all the rules and regulations, but I do appreciate seeing that in there, that there is, you know, some kind of push towards trying to reduce it as much as possible. Much appreciated. Thank you.
We have an unhappy attendant. Does anyone else have any questions or comments to make to Martina's report? Heather, did you have your hand up?
Only to advise that I believe I'm able to resume the chair after this item. So continue on with this.
Okay.
I can hopefully take the helm again.
All right. Well, just to finish this item off, if there are no other questions, I would entertain a motion to accept the report number 202209. Councillor Watt. Deputy Mayor Moher, all in favor? Thank you, and I will return the chair to Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Councillor Landsman. Hopefully my internet holds strong. So moving on to item 7.3, Building Department report. I see we have our CBO, Brian Fawcett, on the line. Over to you, Brian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the committee. So starting off with this this January, our volume has been exceptionally high. We rounded out 2021 with a record-setting year. It was insanely busy for us. As we'll see, I believe the treasurer and I are meeting shortly to establish our year-end departmental report that's regulated under the Building Code Act that we have to complete. So we'll have that soon. But basically into 2022, we're seeing it doesn't even feel like it's winter right now for most people as far as construction season's going. It's just pushing right through. So we have a very high volume between myself and our full-time inspector. We are out in the field pretty much from start to finish every day, and then lining that up with meetings and other things. So in terms of the amount of time that we have right now is very minimal. So I'm very fortunate that we were able to find a full-time administrator. And I believe there was an email that was sent out to staff and council. That position starts on the 22nd, and we're very much looking forward to that full-time support to assist with a lot of the customer inquiries and relay a lot of information back and forth. I would also say that we've added just recently in January, we switched from our previous online permitting system to a more robust off-the-shelf solution called Cloud Permit, which is the same product that many of the other municipalities in our area are using. So it's very familiar for a lot of repeat customers, and it's very intuitive for new customers. Anybody who has issues with that system, there's messaging features inside of there, and we're able to respond to that and get notifications. So I can actually respond to a lot of that stuff while I'm in the field. In response to an earlier comment that was made with a specific inquiry regarding a permit that they hadn't received any correspondence on, I would say that we should certainly be notified of what that issue is so that we can get on top of it. We are currently meeting all of our legislative timelines, which is obviously not the standard that we want to be. We want to be well above that, but at a bare minimum, we are fully in compliance right now. So we do want to move forward with a better customer service policy, and a lot of that will hinge on the implementation that moves forward with our new administrative position. Not trying to scare her off on the first day, so we'll be putting a lot on her plate for sure, but I know she's up for the challenge, so it'll be a very exciting time moving through the end of February into March. Otherwise, for the other odd things on the report, facilities management, we've had a few little hiccups here and there. As you might notice, for the few of us that are in the office, it is a little chilly in here. Our heater, our air top handler broke over the weekend, and the part is coming this week, but it's not operating at full capacity. So that's been taking up just a little bit of extra time, and we're moving through those things. In terms of the animal services, as our CEO had mentioned previously, we are currently working through that discussions, and we are also pushing out on our tender for the building department renovations, building and planning department renovations in the basement. Should be going out quite soon, so that we can get that project moving and ready to move in there. So that's all I have for now.
Great, thank you for that. Questions, Councillor Watt?
Yes, to you, Madam Chair. Brian, I see you have the septic reinspection program letters prepared to go out. Did we get caught up from what happened last year, or are you kind of double dutying this year? And can you update on what section of the township will be going this summer, please?
For sure. Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Watt. So yes, as soon as we have our administrative support, we're going to be physically mailing the first round of letters, which is, as we had reviewed before, sort of like a warm introduction letter to say, hey, heads up, this is coming. And those letters will go out to, we're on zone 3 this year, which is more or less central Stony Lake, more around the kind of from McCracken's to Crow's Landing, but there's not a lot of mainland properties on that. It's mostly islands this year. I think about 2/3 to 3/4 of the physical inspections we're doing are the islands. We'll probably be about 75% of the islands on Stony Lake, and the last 25% of the islands will get picked up next year when we do the remaining part of mainland Stony Lake. So that will be an interesting experience for us this year for sure. So we'll be going through that, and then we will be picking up on the balance of what was left over from last year. All the inspections were done, but there's some follow-up correspondence to be done with a few properties, and a few that were postponed from last year that will be picked up this year and at the start of the program. And all of that I have information on, just haven't had the ability to physically mail out documents for that yet. So we will have that very soon.
Great, thank you. Deputy Mayor Moher, did I see your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I would thank Brian and your department for bringing the Humane Society to the census relative to their original direction, because the way they were attempting to move forward was not the way to make the community happy and supportive of their project. And hopefully a compromise can be brought forward. But the second point, and I got 3 altogether. Second point is there's a resolution number 430-2021, November 2nd meeting, I believe. That was basically to receive the 2021, I think, or maybe 20 report, sewage reinspection. And the last part of that paragraph of the resolution was, finally, the staff investigate various suggestions voiced by council regarding sewage system re-inspections. I believe it was on the November 2nd, 21 meeting. We have not received anything back on that. And I guess the recommendation to start sending letters out on soon with the phase 3, I would, when you're ready, Madam Chair, I'm going to move that I have a motion ready to move forward with that, to perhaps consider delaying the program until we get some clarity as to what we're doing. If we're out there inspecting with spongy soil or other things and not lifting the lid, we're basically being a reactive inspection process rather than proactive. If we're looking for spongy soil, that means the septic probably has already failed. In other words, there's solids getting out into the weepers. And once that happens, the whole system pretty well has to be replaced. And I guess if we're not prepared to lift the lids in some fashion, I'm prepared to move, and hopefully I get support from other members of council, that we delay this program until such time as we can do a proactive job of reacting to something that might be happening to prevent a major cost to the ratepayer that this whole program is trying to accomplish. We've received input from very experienced people in our community, relative that we're not approaching it in the right way. And I guess that's my position. And we've received it from more than one person. So, and the third item is, see if I can get it here. There's a resolution, and I don't need an answer now, but resolution 07/2021. This was back regarding low-level boat sun decks. It was passed and carried back in January the 5th, 2021. That in light of many factors, that this item be deferred until such time as the recommendation can come back to council that is close to the original notice of motion, and further that such exemption detail that will not have a material alteration to the building nearby. We have not received anything back on that yet. There was a private meeting with the lawyer, and I guess I would be content if we had that meeting even expanded to have our lawyer meet with council to raise the issues that we're concerned about, rather than a private meeting with maybe 2 or 3 people involved. And that's my position on that. Perhaps we can get a reply to that at some point in the near future with a timeline.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Moher, thank you. I'll come back around for your motion, but while we're just going through questions, are there any other questions from council regarding the report that's before us today? Nope. Seeing nothing else, then Deputy Mayor Moher, go ahead with your motion.
In light of the concerns raised by council members and very experienced people in the field relative to our inspection program, I would move that we recommend to council that we delay the 2022 program until such time as we have some certainty about our methods of completing an effective inspection program.
Thank you. And yes, to your point, it is a recommendation to council. We can discuss this here, and then it would come back to council with that recommendation should this motion pass. Is there somebody willing to second that motion?
I will second that.
Councilor Lanson? Any discussion on the motion? Deputy Mayor Moher?
Just a quick point. I think it only makes distinct difference that we do it right the first time. We don't want to be coming back with some kind of altered program down the road that we have to do much of it all over again. So when we come forward with a person that trains people in this field, coming forward with recommendations, we listen. I listen to them at least. So I think it's only appropriate that we have something back to provide us with some kind of reassurance that we're approaching this in the most responsible fashion. Thank you.
Any other comments on the motion? And before I ask for the vote, just a question of staff with respect to the request. When do I guess this would be to Brian, to our CDO, when would you anticipate, if everything were to proceed as you're planning, those letters to be going out in the mail?
First round letters were intended to be go out probably would be the week of the 28th of February. So the week after our administrative assistant starts. So would probably be between the 28th of February and the 4th of March.
Okay, and also to our CIO, with this coming to council potentially, should the motion carry, we would have time to discuss that or get that on the agenda prior to that?
Um, At this stage, I think it's best staff go back and just take a look at where we left off. I know there was some discussion about the septic inspection program, and I believe that something had come back to council with a discussion about how we were going to inform the public. I just want to make sure that we're not violating anything previously that we've done in council when we take a look at this. So I don't have an answer for you specifically on the timelines, because I really would like to go back and just see where we left off and give Brian an opportunity then to come back to council and provide some additional information. Clearly, there's still some uncertainty on how we're moving forward, so we want council to be comfortable with our approach. So until we are able to, that we will hold off on sending any letters, just to make sure the council is aware of how we're proceeding.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion to the motion? All in favor? And there we are. Okay, Councillor Watt, thank you. Okay, so that puts us at item 7.4, the finance report. And I believe our treasurer is on the call. Oh, Councillor Landsman?
Sorry, did we receive Brian's report?
Oh, you're right, we did not. Thank you. Could we get a motion to receive the CDO report 2022-02? Councillor Watt, seconded by Councillor Deputy Mayor Moher. All in favor? Great. Thank you. And now on to our interim treasurer, Paul Kramer, on with the finance department report. On to you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few updates. When I look back to December and January on things going on, I think a lot of the time in December was spent on the budget, wrapping that up. I'm already thankful that we were able to complete it then and kind of move on into January. There is some work once the budget is passed that is required, setting up the new projects in the system, inputting the budget into the system, and other various tasks that go along with passing the budget. The other thing that's been kind of time consuming in these last 2 months, especially in January and leading into January, is getting ready for the transition into the new year and setting up the new year for payroll, for set up the new year for the accounting system. We've been trying to fill our accounting and payroll analyst. That if we would have had that position, I think wouldn't have been as busy for my time on some of these tasks. We've been unsuccessful to date in filling that position. We will keep everyone updated. We submitted a grant for the Canada Summer Jobs Program like we have in the last few years, and completed the reporting for that program as well, which can be tedious, I think is a good word to use to describe that reporting. And we held a semi kind of kickoff meeting for our asset management plan, which we hope to get going in the next few months, and which should be a great project for the township. Open to questions.
Any questions from council? Thank you for that, Paul. Deputy Mayor Moher.
Thank you very much, Paul, for the report. And I'm glad that you're making sure we get the right person for that payroll analysis person. And I'm sure we'll find somebody, or you will find somebody to make sure it's the right fit for what we need to get done. I trust that that person's role, probably first role, would be work on ways of getting that payroll down to one person touching a timesheet versus 3 or 4 people that touch timesheets, because in the service review, that was one of the big items that we seem to go through a very inefficient system. Is that part of that role to incorporate that?
I think there's a couple of ways we could look at it. I think some of the tasks that I'm doing related to payroll right now will be offloaded, which will free up my time to look at things at a higher level and do process reviews. And that's definitely on my list of processes to review and to find more efficient ways to complete it all across the board. So I'm not entirely sure if whoever we hire into that role will do that review and make those changes, but it'll definitely allow me to have more time to look at things and step back and not be in the day-to-day as much.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council of our treasurer in the report? Seeing nothing else, I do have a couple of questions myself. First of all, it's great news to hear that the asset management kickoff kickoff meeting is happened and it's underway. I know that was something that was flagged as being a critical piece of work in the service delivery review, and I look forward to hearing about that process as it goes forward. Do we have any sort of ETA on the 2020 audit? I'm seeing in your report that it's kind of in play with the 2021 audit, and the 2021 is a concern, but more so the 2020 audit. Are we nearing completion on that at all?
So we did do the interim audit for both 2020 and 2021, which looked at a variety of transactions all across the board. And so now it's kind of the final part of the audit that is outstanding. We were hoping to do the audit in February here, just with being short-staffed and not having that extra resource. When we look at, we're a team of 4 and we've been down 1 for the last few months. You're down 25% of our, and so we've all kind of had to take a little bit more on to fill in those gaps. And I've had to push back the 2020 to early April. But we are on track to meet that deadline. And we are, and everything that I've been doing to prepare for that audit, there's been nothing of concern from my perspective. And there was nothing of concern during the preliminary transaction audit.
Thank you for that. And one other question with the Canada Summer Jobs application, seeing that you wrapped up the reports, I know the Canada Summer Job program was a little bit different during the pandemic and the reporting and hiring requirements were different. I'm assuming that our reporting for 2021 is compliant. The position for 2022, are you seeking, how many positions are you seeking or are being applied for, and what roles are those?
That's a good question. I'm going to try to go off the top of my head here. So there was 2 positions for, we'll call it office positions. And the one will support, the vision is to support some election duties, some records retention projects, some special projects that we have going on. We always find the customer service and front desk response can be a little short during summer months with holidays and different people being off for a variety of reasons. So there'll be coverage there. And then there's also some additional support for building services due to being busy out on inspection. And so those 2 will kind of tag team the office responsibilities. And then there was 1 for parks. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. And I think that was it. So there may have been 2 for parks. I'll have to go back and check.
Thank you. Yeah, if you could just send a note around to council on that as a follow-up, that would be appreciated. So moving on, can I get a motion to receive the Finance Department Monthly Report 2022-01, Deputy Mayor Moher, seconded by Councillor Watt. All in favor? That is approved. Thank you. Moving on to item 7.5, Fire Department Monthly Report with the Fire Chief, who is coming on the line. Hello, Chief.
Good morning. Thank you through your chair. We're Station 2 continues to make progress with the provincial and federal grant renovation that we have. We did get an extension on using that money, so that was good because stuff is hard to get right now. So there's been delays, but it's coming along well. All the outside walls have been insulated. The hanging heaters are in. The bunker gear room is actually completed now. The office is kind of framed in and painted, and it's mostly ready as a space. And the other 2 rooms are drywalled, and they continue to move ahead. So it's exciting news there, and it's nice to be under one roof instead of split across 2 roofs with 2 trucks in 2 different locations. So anyway, that project continues to move forward, and our crews are they're volunteering their time, doing a great job, and it's an exciting project, and very thankful for them. Just on emergency management, just a note, I know we kind of squeezed in our exercise and training near the end of the year, hoping for an exemption, but we didn't get one, so we were compliant. We did get notice back, so the mayor should be getting a letter from Emergency Management Ontario saying that we were in compliance, which I'm sure will come to council. Our new tank 1 that we did receive, and it's been put into service. It is in service now. There are a couple little decals and stuff that are going to be still put on, but it is in service and fully compliant. So we will be parting ways with our old milk truck type of tanker. That'll be going up for tenders soon. We did get notice for our paging for the fire department that we may not have paging in the future from this company. So we're looking, I'm part of a committee that we're working on trying to look at alternate options, I guess. One benefit we do have is the Who's Responding app. So it's been very, so even if we lost paging today, we'd still have that as a primary thing, and it's been very reliable. So we're not in total trouble, but it's always nice to have some contingency and some backup. So we're working with some different partners in a committee to see what kind of solutions we may be able to come up with. Our total calls for 2021 were slightly up from 2020 by only 8. So that's better than we've had in the past, at increases of 25%. So we're at least leveling off a little bit now. So that's good. Some of you may recall 2018, the province brought in a mandatory firefighter certification program, and it fell short and it got removed, and it didn't, the regulation didn't stand. So that is back out now, and there is it got released on January 28th, and it's out for comment until February 28th. So we're having OFM meetings and zone meetings through the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs, our county chiefs meeting, and trying to wrap our head around what this will look like and how it may impact us, or if we're okay, or all those questions. So a lot of questions not answered yet, but it's still early, and we're working through those things. I was on the OFM had a meeting this morning, so I was part of that, but I had to get off and come over and visit here. So there is other opportunities for that meeting, and I'll finish that off. And the deputy chief is also on that meeting, so I'm sure we can collaborate and we're covered off there. So anyway, we're working through that, and whatever actions that may come out of that, we will certainly let council know. And if there's any changes on how we do business or in our bylaw, level of service, all those things, we'll keep you posted. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Any questions of our fire chief from council? Deputy Mayor Moher.
Thank you, Chuck, for your presentation. I noticed in your presentation, you mentioned you have a number of volunteers doing the work at the number 2 station, similar to what was done at White Lake. That's really good news if that's the case. We at some point or another should reach out to acknowledge those people in a more formal way if that's the case. So.
Yes, through you, Chair, to Deputy Mueller. yes, that is the case, and we certainly will recognize them when we, officially reopen the hall, if you will.
Good.
Even though it's functioning right now and they're working out of it, but it's a little bit of a mess. But it will get better, and it's getting better every day. But yeah, very grateful, and we will certainly recognize those people.
Okay.
Any other questions from council?
No.
Seeing nothing further, could we get a motion to receive the report today? Councillor Landsman, Deputy Mayor Moher, all in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to, thank you, Chief, for your report. Moving on to item 7.6, Parks and Recreation Department. Do we have Mike Mood on the line today?
Yes, through you, Chair. My
There you
connection
are.
here is not very strong, so I'm going to keep my video off. And please do pause me if you cannot make out what I'm saying. So,
Fair enough, thank you. Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to clarify on Paul's question. We are looking for 2 summer students this year. We have looked for 2 in the past years, but we only acquired 1 over the last 2 summers due to the fact that we were under lockdown restrictions and weren't able to offer the programs that we normally would offer. So there is 2 hopefully happening this summer with all the restrictions hopefully lifting. Speaking on that, we did go through another lockdown, and so we've been navigating through all those restrictions and requirements that we are to have in place for our rentals. It's been difficult at times because we'll be exiting a step and not know what the actual regulations are until the day before we are to open. So it's been good in the sense that we have the health unit and arena managers meeting, so we all become on the same page and can work together. Also, as you're aware, over the Christmas holidays, we did have a failure at the Warsaw Community Center with the plant room. At this time, we're still working with our contractors and Simcoe Refrigeration. We just received our options for replacement, and we just got a ballpark idea on our next steps and costings. I have spoke with the CAO, and we are now going to be looking into possible insurance to cover these costs, as it's one thing to replace the item that failed, but there's also a lot of cleanup and additional costs that wouldn't normally be associated with this replacement. So we're looking at all of our options, and we'll get back to you very soon. With the lockdowns, we were able to get a variety of things that we would normally not get done at the community centers, jobs that take up considerable staff time. So we were able to get the facilities in a nice looking order for potential rentals for the summers, and just trying to make a nice impression when the public comes into the facilities. As for our capital projects, we were able to finish our exterior and interior door replacements and weather stripping. At the end of the season, we were able to get all the parts that are all back ordered, and they are in place now. Now we're just working on drafting an RFQ for the replacement of our parks mower or our parks tractor. And, yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that. Any questions from council? Deputy Mayor Moher.
Yeah, thank you. What was the estimated cost for replacement, Mike? And I've got a couple more.
Yeah, through you, Chair, to Deputy Moore. There is 2 options on the table. It's one option is to replace the existing item of or piece of equipment, and that is about $115,000. There is a secondary option to go with a a better, a more efficient long-term plan. It's called a plate and frame. So it doesn't have to be replaced every 20 years like the shell and tube right now does. So longevity, it's a lot better. You have a less ammonia gas in the system. So if there was a failure at any part of the equipment, we wouldn't lose as much ammonia into the facility. And that one's at 165,000. The estimated cleanup and of the floor and the removal of the equipment is anywhere from $40,000 to $70,000, as because the brine is now contaminated with ammonia gas. It has to be disposed of accordingly, and that has to be flushed out of the floor. And Simcoe Refrigeration has said they've seen it anywhere from 2 flushes to 8 flushes, and that's where we get into the costing. So after they do the flushing, they do take samples to make sure that we have a safe floor, I guess, in that sense, because they will not warranty the new equipment if there is traces of ammonia gas still in the brine. So.
Deputy Mayor Mulder, you had other questions?
Yes, just number 2, Lakefield Community Center and Norwood Community Center have done extensive work on revenue opportunities with advertising. And I don't know whether you've had a chance to view or visit any of those locations in the last 6 months or not. Probably not because of COVID, but they've done some really novel things to increase the revenue for community centers. And if you haven't already done so, I wonder if you could reach out to look at some of these novel ideas that when you enter the community center, it really makes you feel good that you're entering that community. It's so warm and whatever with the way it's done. So I would encourage you to do that if that's not already been done. And my final question is, I just noticed the other day there when I believe it's Fairview are doing the snow removal at the Douro Community Center. Is that correct?
Yes. No, it's a first choice property maintenance.
Okay. And I think they're using a plow truck to plow the snow away. I'm just wondering if a plow truck is the way to go with it because of the amount of snow. They seem to really be having difficulty moving it back. And I don't know if there's any concerns on that or not, but if they're not using the right piece of equipment, we're probably billed a lot more than we should be billed. So I just throw that out there for comment.
Yep. I do know that we have had talks with that contracting company. So we'll go
Thank you
from
for that,
there.
Deputy Mayor. Any other questions from council? Sorry, go ahead.
Through the chair, to Deputy Moore about advertising. I have not been to the Norwood Community Center to view that, but I do know that the Lakefield does not look after their own advertising. It is actually the Lakefield Chiefs that have taken over that program, and they just give the community center a nominal fee each year.
I just throw it out as an income opportunity, and whatever method they're using, I think it's maybe we could learn from it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any further questions from council? Seeing none, can I get a motion to receive the Parks and Recreation Department Facilities Report 22-01, Councillor Watt, seconded by Councillor Landsman. Thank you. All in favor? That motion is carried. And last of our staff reports, I'd like to welcome Jake Condon, Manager of Public Works, to do a rundown on your report. Jake?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I'll just give a high-level overview of the report that you have. Obviously, we're in winter maintenance activity mode here now, and staff have been very busy over the last little while with the more traditional winter that we're experiencing. As I indicated, we've been out 16 times through the month of December and 14 times in January. We're still continuing doing our general maintenance activities for within the Public Works Department, which includes sign repairs, patching, all the various activities when time permits and weather permits. We are continuing to, as the fire chief mentioned, the staff are continuing to organize the public works side of the Douro shop that we have now moved over to the east end of that building, and staff are continuing to do some organizing there to make benches and such in that public works department end now. Another high level thing we've been doing here is we've had our brushing contractor over the last month or so has been very busy completing various brushing on various roads within the township. They're currently on the 8th line of Dummer, completing that. Other than that, the transfer station is still operating with precautions for COVID in place for staff and residents, but is operating efficiently, and there's no problems there. And then I've been just trying to prepare some RFQs and RFPs here to get them out in quick time. As we all know, some supply and demand issues are present now. We are still waiting on one pickup truck from last year to be delivered. So the quicker I get them out there, the hope is that the quicker that we can place the order. I have just sent a email out this morning. I delayed the announcement of that to complete or to catch both recruitments. However, the recruitment for the laborer's position has been completed. That staff member started January 24th, and we have filled the equipment operator position, and they will be starting February 14th. And that's about it. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you for that. Any questions from council? Councillor Watt.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Jake, thanks very much for the report. Thanks to everyone for the reports. They're very, very beneficial, as we've always said. Just a couple of quick ones. One comment, the transfer station, I see that the not taking mattresses, which is fine, but the reused building is now open. That's something that I get asked a lot. It's a pretty popular thing, so I guess it's just a matter of how we get the word out, which is always difficult. We know that for sure, but I guess the word of mouth, the more and more it gets out there, but it is a handy thing. The second thing is about signs. I know we had quite a few on the list with the reflectivity, I think it's called, whatever. How are we through that process? I know it's an ongoing thing, but are we kind of middle way, halfway, 3/4 of the way through getting them, back up to standards?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. The reused building is open. We have not, we chose to not publicly announce that so that we can kind of not have a rash of items being delivered there and have too many people in there at one time and such. So we've kind of left it to be word of mouth so that gets out there. For the signs, yes, we are working away at that. We have replaced all the regulatory signs, or which are your speed limit signs, items like that. They have all been replaced and upgraded. Your stop signs. We are working on the warning signs, which are all your yellow signs within the roadway, which are not regulatory. They're just a warning sign. So we have more time to replace them. But as you mentioned, it is a work in progress. It is going to take a bit of time, but I would say we're about 50% through that on the replacement.
Councillor Watt, a follow-up question?
Yes, one follow-up, if I may, through you, Madam Chair. I'm hearing lots of good comments of Daleview. How is it working on your side of things for snow removal, making sure that, you know, that it's not filling people's laneways any more than we did, you know, I mean, that's a thing with plowing stuff again, but how is it from the public works side of things with the new setup? Is it good? So, not bad?
Yeah, it's about the same. You know, we've always had that lower road. However, we did approach that in a different direction. So now we are, it's a one-way street, so we are approaching it, traveling to the north. So, yeah, we have some hiccups there at the start of the season. The staff kind of forgot about trying to alleviate some of that snow in those driveways down below. So we have rectified that, and I have not heard anything even through that big snowfall. So I think residents are happy, or I hope they are happy, and we're doing a good job there.
Great, thank you for that. Deputy Mayor Maher, you had your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you and your staff for all the work there of being very busy with winter control. It's been very much appreciated, keeping our roads safe, and also the brushing. You're doing a great job to get caught up in that brushing, so thank you very much. My question has to do with mesh and GPS. Does either of those programs give you ways of managing the speed of your roads people out there on their roads trucks?
It does track the speed of the vehicles when they're traveling. If you're speaking when we're doing maintenance or winter maintenance activities, there is an alarm that goes off if you do go over, I believe it's 50 kilometers an hour while you're plowing or sanding. So yes, it does monitor that. Okay,
just a comment. When you're not doing maintenance work, you may have one driver that's a little bit on a heavy foot. I've noticed it on County Road 4 and other highways in the area. Now, I don't know who it is, but there might be a heavy foot there that could be a problem. That was all. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Maher. Councillor Watt for a second time.
Yes, thank you through you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the second time around. Jake, how have we made any headway or had any talks? I know it came up with council before. I think I brought it up about the winter patrols and maybe coordinating with other townships in the county so that, you know, we don't have us and Havelock, Belmont, Methuen, maybe North Kawartha and the county all up at the north east end of our township, you know, where we go across to Havelock or up through, I know we don't quite go to Northeast Bay Road, but, you know, we have 4 different groups there. Have we coordinated it all with them so we could cut down on the patrol at all, that we don't overkill it?
That's a good question. However, it's a complicated question. We are regulated to perform a patrol regardless. So one of our staff members has to patrol those roads at that given time. So we do communicate with our neighbors during, you know, winter events. You know, it cuts that patrol down. We do not have to necessarily go to each and every road if we know that we are going, the event shows that we need to go out. We cancel that or complete the patrol and continue to call out the staff and do the maintenance activities. But for general patrols, we are still required by law to complete those patrols through our own resources.
Great, thank you for that. Any other questions from council? I just have one question, Jake, with respect to the mattresses, the language in your report says, I believe, no longer accepting. Can you clarify that? Are you suggesting that we will no longer be ever accepting mattresses at the Hull Square Transfer Station, or is that just due to COVID measures that are currently in place?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. That is, I apologize, a typo. That's just for during the COVID. Right now, we're not accepting mattresses. However, staff have indicated that we may be looking into that possibility in the future of not accepting mattresses.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Could I get a motion to receive the Public Works Department Report 22-01, please? Deputy Mayor Moher, seconded. Councillor Lansman, all in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, so item number 8, new business to be requested for the next meeting. I'm assuming this is for council to request that to perhaps bring items back forward to committee of the whole, with this being a new process, a new committee for us. Is that what we're looking for at this point? Yes, Madam Clerk.
Through you, Madam Chair,
Yeah.
That is correct. And I think Elaine and I both had comments to make in this section, but we want to hear from council first.
Thank you. Anything in particular that council is looking forward to be on the agenda? Deputy Mayor Moher.
Yes, I think I'm quite happy with the way today's meeting went. I probably spoke way too much, but that's beside the point, and it does allow for further discussion. Now, the fact that we're not meeting again for 3 months, to come up with items that like some of the items I might recommend that we probably should be dealing with before then. And those items were the joint building, consideration for a gravel pit purchase on the addition to the gravel pit on Dummer's 6 line, procedural bylaw issues that we're all sending input into Alana or Martina or both. I guess that's the only comments I have to make.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of staff want to comment on that? And then I'll come back around to Councillor Lansman.
If I could, through you, Madam Chair, I think we can fine tune definitely the process and how we move forward and how we get items on this agenda specifically, whether things, my thought was that things may be directed more on a council level back to this committee for further discussion. But if there are some outstanding items, we're also happy to look at that. The procedural bylaw, I know we're actually back in April, so it's 2 months. I know we are still awaiting comments. This might be a good opportunity to have that discussion though in this setting. I know it's going to take a little bit of time and we'll have to work with what we have at the council level, but I think this just allows for a little more open discussion. So something like that I think is a good item to bring back here. As we move forward, we can take a look at the timelines, but at this point, we'll try to work within what we have. Again, even with our staff reports, I did ask obviously all of our management staff to be here, but there are days where, you know, if we had a major snowfall, that might be difficult for Jake to be here. So we'll try to organize these reports as well to minimize their time. So I did ask them to be here today, but I think moving forward, once they're done the reports, I will, you know, suggest that they can go on about their day. So we'll try to keep our comments, any questions that you have specific to when their reports come up. But again, just to try to fine tune some of these items as we move forward, it's a new process for all of us. So definitely provide us with any feedback that you have if it's something we chat about today or whether it's something after the meeting. We would appreciate it.
Thank you. Councillor Lansman, you had your hand up.
I did. Thank you. Just to everybody, I guess I think this was a very good meeting because it certainly got a number of things discussed that we definitely wouldn't have had the time to discuss in a council meeting. And I personally found it to be very productive, and I'm glad we had it. But I do think it's a great place to bring back items that maybe just even one item that needs a thorough discussion. And yes, that's it. That's my comment.
Thank you. Councillor Watt.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. I echo what Councillor Lansman says. This was a great session today. Thank you to all of staff, managers, everyone that has put forth anything into this. We did discuss things a lot more than we normally would have in a council meeting, so I think this is a very good venue. I know Councillor Landsman, thank you very much. You've been pushing for this for quite some time now, and I'm glad it's finally come about. I know it does take up a bit of time, and I know we're not going to get everybody here every time, but I do think it's a very good venue to sort things out. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, on new business to be requested at the next meeting, I'm sure if we have questions between now and the next meeting, we can forward them into our CAO or our deputy clerk and our acting clerk, sorry, and they'll be on our agenda. So I don't foresee any problems there, but thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. I echo that sentiment. And I think what I'm hearing is, of course, this is a new process for our council and for staff. And, we're going to be navigating that a little bit further, but we now have an opportunity at council to refer things over to committee of the whole for more direction. Staff, as matters arise, and some of the points that Deputy Mayor Moher raised with respect to a public works building, a gravel pit, and the procedural bylaw as well, all would be better perhaps fleshed out at committee of the whole at a future meeting. So if I could just make a couple of concluding remarks, that we continue to suggest that council bring forward suggestions to staff to add to the agenda item or the agenda, and we look for those opportunities to use this session, this meeting committee for that. Anything else under new business or new business to be requested for the next meeting?
Alana had something.
Just one further thing, if I could, as you're reviewing our reports, if there are specifics that you know are going to generate some discussion, if you could also just give us a heads up on that, and that'll just allow us to prepare with any past motions there might have been or any background information, and it'll help us put the order of reports in place so that, again, we can get those people in and out that have other things to do outside of being in the office. So we would appreciate that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Deputy Mayor Mower?
Yes, just relative to that comment, Alana, I'm reluctant to do that because to be transparent, if I'm raising it, I hate to copy all other members of council, but that's what I should be doing. And that's advancing the business of council, or could be considered advancement of council. Even though we may not be commenting back, are we okay at doing that? I guess, Martina, you're closer to the what we should or shouldn't be doing here, but like, I don't have any problem copying other members of council when I do that. However, if I rooted to Alana, I'm not copying other members of council, and I'm running into the same issue with the procedural bylaw. If I'm raising issues to it, it doesn't make sense that I raise them, Sheila raises them, Tom raises them, and Heather raises the same thing. It seems to be a waste of time. If you notice that somebody else has raised it, it only needs to be raised once, forget it on discussion. So is there some clarity as to that it is legal to copy other members of council of what we're raising? We're not talking about whether we're in favor or not in favor of it, but we're just raising our concern.
Madam Clerk?
Through you, Madam Chair. I would ask that council not email all of council with their comments or questions. I think what Alana may have been trying to get at, and of course you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that, let's say you're going to have a question about garbage collection. If you can let Alana or I or the manager know in advance that you're going to be asking a question about garbage collection, then we'll be prepared for that topic. So we're not trying to scramble to find the answer in the meeting. I think that's kind of what Alana was asking. As for the procedural bylaw, I would love to bring it back to this committee. I think this would be a great location for us to have that type of in-depth conversation. And I would love to have your comments in advance. It's really important because each comment is nuanced and important. And I would like time to reflect on those questions and make sure that I'm presenting the best information forward. So please send them to me directly. Please don't CC all of your council members. It may not seem like a conversation, but it leads to conversation. And so I'd prefer if you don't do that. And I'm sure our integrity commissioner would agree as well.
Does that satisfy your question, Deputy Mayor Moher?
Well, listening to Tony Fleming here last week, I think those comments to you, Martina, should really go to Alana, should they not?
Like I would, through you, Madam Chair, I would imagine that anything you sent to me, you would CC Alana on, so she would have that information.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we need a motion on item number 8?
Through you, Madam Chair, I don't believe we do because there's been no motion to move forward, so I think we're okay.
All right, so moving down the agenda, we have no closed session. So items 9, 10, 11 are not, so just a motion to adjourn, folks. Please.
No one wants to adjourn.
Just such a great love fest here today. Deputy Mayor Mower, looks like Councillor Lansford
Can't
is
get our hands up.
all in favor to adjourn. That
With
motion is carried. Thank you very much.